So Friday night was looking really grim. For me, embarrassment starts to creep in, severe doubt. I started thinking, Gary, about when you said our team usually gets caught up by little things. Maybe it would be the travel to New Jersey. Maybe it would be that it was a Friday game. And it was really going that negative way. Until Mickey makes adjustments, and of course there were Bill Bush adjustments on defense. A completely different team comes out at halftime, and we blank them. They fired their offensive coordinator, Gary, because of that. Feels nice to be on the other side of that for once. What are your thoughts after going back-to-back wins for the first time in God knows how long?
Overall happy. It wasn't a pretty win by any stretch. And like you said, the way it started off looked really bad. But that's 2 weeks in a row that we shut out the opponent in the second half and didn't let things that started to go wrong collapse and have the bottom drop out. I said leading up to the game, the main thing I'm looking for these next few games before I worry about the next step is to not have regression. There was great improvement from the way the season started out to Indiana, although that wasn't that pretty. I didn't want to take a step back, and I felt during that first half that's possibly what we were doing. But the way that went and the way they came out and responded was a continuation off of the same thing from the Indiana game. And I felt like things could have gotten really out of hand. Again, there were adjustments made just like the previous week. Overall, man, I like the way that they're going. It might not be the pace or the style that people want to see, but it's progression and it's consistent. And if they can continue to not take steps back, even if they plateau a little bit before they take the next step, as long as there's not a regression, I'm fine. I have pretty low hopes as far as Big Ten West, Big Ten, who these opponents are, this and that. I'm more focused on, again, keep beating the dead horse, but Nebraska not getting in its own way and then building off of that. And I thought they did a good job overall of continuing that out on Friday.
All right, man. Well, let's give the people what they want. Let's take a look at the tape. Let's start with the first touchdown. It was by Noah Vedral. I was screaming at my TV, Gary, that Reimer gets held. What else did you see here other than that?
I felt like this play was a microcosm of the entire first half. Our issues on defense for the first quarter of the season have been gap discipline and missed tackles. And I feel like they've really cleaned up the gap discipline quite a bit, just even in the last two games of Bush being there. But the missed tackles, especially in the first half, were still an issue. And I don't understand exactly if this is by design or if Tanner is letting his eyes take him away from his assignment. But he comes all the way from the right end, or technically left end, but from the bottom of the screen, you're going to see him. He's going to start working his way up the defensive line. So when their right guard pulls, he's not there to kind of even chip or draw that guy to engage with him. So Reimer's kind of on an island there. And looking at Reimer right now, it looks like he's got his hands like, what's going on? Or I don't know what he's doing. But he's going to step up. He's going to engage with that right guard that's pulling. Does a good job of keeping his arms extended to not be able to not shed the block. But then he gets held as he tries to disengage. And I thought he did a really good job of kind of working with what he had there. He should have gotten him bailed out with a flag because if the guys around his pad spins him around as he's trying to get off, it would have been a loss. But even at that, it's not lost. You've got two guys coming down, two guys coming to play cleanup. Nobody follows through with it and wraps up, and you end up with Vedral taking a little hop step in, a little stutter step, and it's an easy touchdown. But I mean, even with the mistakes that seemed like were happening at the along the defensive line there, it still could have been a tackle for a loss. And there was a couple plays like that throughout the game where missed tackles were hurting us with what should have been losses going for big gains.
So, Gary, a couple of Bill Bush changes really made the difference. One was inserting Moore into the lineup.
One of my big issues has been with the way the secondary plays such a cushion, whether it's man or zone. And the man, they get a little bit closer, but there's not a lot of contact at the line. You see the exact opposite here. Moore's at the top of the screen, nice tight man coverage on the receiver. But he's going to jam him and slow it down enough. When the running back comes out of the H-back spot, he's going to do a little under once that receiver puts a little move to go deep. One of the huge things in defense is trusting your help around you, whether it's safety help, linebacker help, whatever it is. Do your job and let other guys and rely on other guys to do their job. And I feel like a lot of times we have guys get away from that and they don't want things to go haywire, so they're trying to do too much and do other people's jobs. But you'll see here when after Moore jams him, he backpedals with him a little bit, and then he knows that he can switch and help on the H-back because he has safety help over the top, and he jumps the route of the H-back trying to cut underneath, and it's a pick, as they're already in field goal range right there, and it's a one possession game, a field goal makes it to where we're in a lot of trouble, at that point in the game. So it's things like that. There was a couple of other situations. We're not going to show a ton of plays, but there was just different situations like that where you see guys lining up, getting a little physical at the line. These younger guys, I don't think they have a choice, but like Hartzog and more obviously here, trusting the help around them, the help actually being there. Farmer had an interception later. It's just a different look and a different flow or feel of confidence, it seems, watching this defense over the last couple of weeks. The offensive line play has been absolutely horrible all year. There's times where it looks a little bit better than others, but it's still overall bad. This play is a perfect example. This isn't the greatest example of him maybe needing to step up in the pocket or take off and run, but it is an example. Here we've got 6 guys. They only bring 3. The one linebacker starts to step up, steps back. They're in more of a coverage. He rolls outside. We've got at the top of the screen 2 guys on their 1, middle of the screen 3 guys on 1, bottom of the screen I think it's Corcoran, man-to-man on this edge rusher down here. And I'd really like to see Thompson step up or find one of those gaps to go up or maybe even forward a little more before he throws the ball, instead of continuing to roll out and get away from the leverage that the lineman does have. Even if it's not great solid blocking, just don't help the defense any more than they're already being helped by the offensive line by getting outside. There was a holding at the end of the game. I think it was Anthony was called for it, and he was actually doing a pretty good job holding his guy out, but Thompson kept rolling away from him as the pocket was, moving or tightening up or whatnot, and he got outside of the leverage, and Anthony doesn't know it. Next thing he knows, Thompson's on the outside of him, and now the guy's trying to pull away, and he's holding him. So it's just little things like that. One, for his health, man. He's getting crushed. I'd be shocked if he doesn't miss a game or some good chunks of games going down. He missed part of this game because he was getting hit so much. And it's just, they're going to have to get creative with running backs and pass pro, maybe bringing in 1 or 2 tight ends to help out, which, like I said, they had 6 guys there. And he's going to have to get a little bit more creative with moving around within the pocket and not being shy and tucking it and taking off. This is example of what I'm talking about. This is towards the end of the game. The offensive line's playing a little bit better. They're bringing more guys in to tighten it up. But even with, we're outnumbered, they bring 4. Pocket starts breaking down. Casey Thompson just tucks it and goes. And it looks like he's dead to rights there. He pulls through. He's 5-6 yards behind the line of scrimmage, takes off, and still manages to squeak out a first down. And even if he's not getting that big of runs or first downs every time, look how open the field is by where the ref's at. They're not worried about that, and it's nice. Obviously, you want to throw there, but he takes off and runs. That's going to help the offensive line. That's going to help him take less damage. He could slide, but they're going to have to start leaving guys to worry about that, or safety's eyes are going to start staying in the backfield, and then Palmer will get more of those one-on-ones like we saw on his touchdown play. But just little things like that, man, they're going to have to come up with some creative ways to help the line, because what you got is what you got at this point in the year, and it hasn't been good, and we can't have him going down as we get into the meat of the schedule coming up.
It was really nice to see him use his athleticism a little bit. I feel like he's not been running as much as he could.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a lot of that is because the talent around us, like Grant can run, no question. We have other guys that can run. Palmer is an absolute stud. We've got guys that can do things. Washington's showed that he's more than serviceable. Vokalik's supposed to be pretty solid, and he is. He's a mismatch for people, but you just have to have that dynamic in college football anymore these days, but you definitely have to have it when you have offensive line play like we've had, and you're trying to keep your guy healthy through a full season.
I was really happy with the amount of screens I saw. I feel like that's something that the Huskers haven't been doing much of. Not every screen was as successful as the next. Right. This one here, not so much.
Yeah, the idea is when teams are really getting through to your quarterback, the screen is ideal. You let them through, and then now your line's running downfield to get into the second and third level. But if you get into this open of a situation, you've just got to keep in mind you're a big, strong lineman, and you've got a very fast, athletic guy coming behind you, and you've got another one in front of you trying to get him. We don't need our guys trying to jab step and juke with the defender. Just the left guard gets in second level. He's matched up with the DB here. You're not going to outrun him. You're not going to keep up with him dancing around. If he wants to jump inside of you, let him. You know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be setting an edge here for Grant to continue to take this wide. And as soon as you decide you're going to try and dance with him, he gets the outside leverage on you. They've got another DB that's running underneath the other lineman because he's faster than them, just like this one is. And now the whole play is all for naught, even though 4 or 5 guys got back too deep behind the line of scrimmage like you wanted. And what should have been a huge game, especially with a guy like Grant. You help them out by giving them two defenders, one at each side, inside and outside. He can't go either way. There's no win for him, and it's lucky to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Palmer is so freaking reliable. This touchdown was huge to take the lead.
Yeah, this is an example of the line actually not doing a bad job. We've talked about the different things to try and help out the offensive line, whether that's adding tight ends, running backs, or in this case, it's going to be Vokalek in the backfield as a pass protector. And they're going to hold up just enough to give Casey time. This is the play. He said he saw the safety eyeball in the tight end, so he knew that it was going to be a man-to-man spot, and he'd be able to get Trey on a one-on-one with the corner. So he just needed a little time for him to be able to make his move, and they give it to him. The pressure comes on the right side edge a little bit. He lets that guy get around, but he stays wide with him long enough that he can't hit Casey's arm. The rest of the line actually does a really good job. Vokalek comes up and helps Chip. You're going to have to see a lot more of that, the screen plays, and hopefully Casey running a little bit more to try and shake things up and not make it so easy for the defense, especially defensive lines, to just constantly be in his face in the backfield.
I'm trying to just enjoy this win streak, Gary, and not get too ahead of myself. I'm trying to not get too ahead of myself with Mickey especially, because it's starting to feel like the winds are turning in his favor, and he's the favorite right now. But I know we've got tougher games coming up, so I don't want to really go down that road until the time comes. What do you think about Mickey's chances right now?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think Mickey right now is the reason why we're not doing other coach candidate videos. I think he doesn't have Nebraska where everybody wants him to be. There isn't a coach that's going to do that in 2 games, 3 games, I guess technically use here for Oklahoma. But he's doing, I think, more than what a lot of people expected that he could and would be able to do. And that's really kind of tap the brakes. I mean, look at all the coaching candidates that were brought up when this first happened. And we've only done 2 or 3 videos. And each time we did, it was who the hot topic was at the time. And there really just hasn't been any because of the progress he's showing. Also, to your point, I'm really trying to tamper my expectations to be like, well, let's just try to get a bowl. Let's try to go 6-6. You look at the rest of the schedule that we have coming up, any variation. Wisconsin fired their coach. They're not doing well. Iowa offense looks worse than it's looked, I think, since we've been in the Big Ten. You got Purdue, Illinois, Minnesota. Of the next 6 games, just try to go 3-3. You know what I mean? That's where you're at now. You can get a 6-6 record. You get a bowl game. I think it'd be really hard to say he's not your guy.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, but I think some people have higher hopes than that or higher expectations than that. Because,
not this year.
Okay. No, I don't have that at all. But I know there's a lot of people. If he turns it around, if we win the Big Ten West and blah, blah, it's like that would be great. That would be cool. I'm not saying don't talk about it. I'm saying don't put those expectations on the guy that took us literally the lowest point the program's pretty much ever been at. And now all of a sudden we're doing these things that we haven't been able to do over the last 4 years. Hadn't won back-to-back Big Ten games since 2018. Hadn't won a road game in Big Ten road game in however long. Like, let's just take this step by step. Let him keep gradually building things up. Let him, Bush, everybody else, Fisher. A lot of props to Fisher, man. He didn't hesitate. That's a big change to take a guy like Tommy Hill, who comes in as a 4-star, big recruit. Everybody was high on him, and he was going to be, that other bookend back there with Newsome, and to be like, you know what? I'm not just going to put another guy in over here. I'm going to put an 18-year-old freshman over here. You can go play receiver, do kick returns or whatnot. Then your number 1 corner goes down, and you go with a guy who's, 24, 25-year-old, 6-year senior, barely played at all. You put him in. They're making changes, man. They're going with the guys that they think can get it done. Just let it keep developing, keep playing out. I really hope these guys all stay and the recruiting class can keep going the way it's looking. I know Malachi Coleman seems to have a pretty good relationship with Mickey Joseph. That'd be big. Try not to get ahead of yourselves. And I mean, I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, you know what I mean? And just let it play out. What's going to happen. There's going to be some losses coming. That's inevitable. I just don't want it to switch to where all of a sudden we have a bad game or we have a game that looks more like the first half of Rutgers than the second half. And now all of a sudden we got to jump on here and do whatever, Luke Fickell or Bill O'Brien or some other coach preview, because now all of a sudden that's all everybody's talking about around here.
We are going to have a Purdue preview for you. We're going to check some tape, try to bring you some of what you can expect to see from them. As of now, we're almost 2-score underdogs. We're going to be talking about that as well. Stay tuned, folks. Hit the like button for us. And as always, go Big Red.